everyone, this is Karen Waksman, founder of Retail MBA, and I'm so excited to have Mike Koenigs on the call. Hi, Mike.
How you doing? Nice to be here. Thank you.
I'm so happy that you're here. Okay, I've known Mike for so many years because when I first got started teaching people how to sell in the retail chains with my business Retail MBA, Mike was one of the first people I met because I went to his events because he was talking to people about how to share information out in the world through internet marketing and so forth. This guy's been around forever. I'll talk about who
Old
he
guy.
is, what he's
Yeah.
done, this guy. And, I think even at one point I hired your business partner to teach me the nuances of how to make money online. And the two of you guys have been in my life for years. And so I just adore you. And this guy knows everything about internet marketing and how to scale and grow. So Mike, I will give you an introduction, but the reason I asked you to be here today is because people have physical products and they're looking at their business and their lives, and they're trying to figure out how to grow and scale, what other angles they can think of. And you're like the guy who gets people to see different aspects of their business. And sometimes, it requires you to look at your business, say, do I even like what I'm selling? Can I do something else and reinvent myself and expand and grow into other aspects of, selling and marketing? Or, can I, make myself look so cool that the company sells for multiple 7, 8, 9 figures, whatever it is, because I know how to brand myself into the world, which is, we'll talk about why you know how to do all this stuff. And, or just, could I, become the product and sell myself to such a scale that my product is great and I make a lot of money on it, but maybe I can be the speaker, teacher, writer. Maybe I can be out there in the world doing different things and then sell so many different products and make so much more money. Because I've seen that clients who get involved with content and getting their products out there beyond just doing what everybody else does, which is posting on Amazon, just, trying to sell their wares, but actually become a brand and an experience to others. That's where the real money comes in. So I'm going to let Mike explain all that. But before he speaks, I want to share why he knows what he's talking about really quick, and then you can just go, Mike, okay? So first of all, Mike, you're a serial entrepreneur. You've had 5 exits, 2 of which are with publicly traded companies, right? I wrote all this down because I wanted you guys to understand how epic he is. He's written 13 books. He's helped over 1,800 people become best-selling authors, it's not an easy thing to do. He's a cancer survivor, so he's experienced a lot of amazing things and transformed so many people and himself. He's a dad, he's a father, he's a wonderful person, and he's going to explain himself now because I've talked way too long, but I wanted to just set you up right so that you guys get excited about who he is and how he can help you just expand and grow your life and make things great for you. So hi, Mike.
Hi. Well done. Well done. So yeah, this is really all about, as I like to say, at some point, no matter where you are in life and business, you outgrow who you are, what you do, why you do it, who you do it for. And that might mean, like, if you're in the product business right now, it's how to think differently, as you said, about who you are and move from a doing business, which might be transactional in nature, to a knowing business where you know a lot of stuff and you've got value for your knowledge, but then to a being business where you might be the brand or you're the brains behind it, and the value of just being around you is so high that you can fetch a premium. So the people that I work with very frequently have had businesses and they've reached a point where either they want to prep for an exit, get out, and find something that's simple and elegant and do something different and leverage all of their wisdom, know-how, and experience. Or they have a business and they're like, I'm competing on price. I'm competing on something that is commoditized. How do I elevate out of that and craft an offer that's 5, 10, even 100 times higher than what I'm used to? So what I typically am working with are business owners, entrepreneurs who want to go from whatever their sale price is to selling something that might have value of $25,000 to $1 million or more, and how to think differently about how to frame my business for an exit as well. So that at least will get us some part of the way there. I've got some slides. What what I encourage you to do, Karen, is just stop me, interrupt at any time to clarify, ask some questions. And ultimately what I'm going to do is take you on a journey, talk about value, building a really high value brand, but also introduce you to one of several sales messaging persuasion methodologies that I use and I teach, and I've helped a lot of business owners and businesses use this internally to do the enrollment for those high ticket experiences. And I'm talking about 1 to 2 conversations for a $25,000 all the way up to $1 million sale. And if you're wondering how the hell is that going to help me if I have a product business, I'd say just hold on, reserve judgment for now, and know that you probably undervalue and underestimate your value as an individual. And there are lots of people out here who will pay you handsomely for that. And a good friend of mine often said, in the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. Truer words never said. So anything else that you want to frame before we get rocking and rolling here?
Yeah, I want to mention Dave Asprey because, you know, he's part of our internet marketing world. And the thing about him is that he sells physical products. If you guys don't know who Dave Asprey is, you know, Mike can talk about him, but essentially he sells a coffee drink, bulletproof coffee. But, you know, he was selling products, but he realized that he needed to be the brand behind the product. And so what do people, you know, a ton of internet marketing, a lot of people know about him because he created a movement. He created an experience for people. And he's a perfect example of someone who didn't just look at it as a commodity. He looked at it as something more important. And he created so much synergy around it that people all over the globe knew him. He eventually got into Whole Foods and all these different retailers. However, it started out as a product, and he had feelings and experiences about why he created this product. And he just made the world love his coffee because of his experience and who he was. And I wanted to use that as an example before we get started, because that gives you a feeling for how big this could go. And Mike's obviously going to take it another direction, but just wanted to give you guys a feeling for what that kind of could look like for you.
Yeah, it's great. I like that. And interestingly, it started with a blog. So he started with a blog before he had the product, and his podcast actually generates more income for him than his own company does. Now he's got huge value in the company because he still owns a significant percentage, a majority percentage. But I met Dave probably 10 years ago. I was one of his first investors in Bulletproof Coffee, and then later on in Upgrade Labs and some other things that he's doing. But yes, exactly, he is a multiplier. And this is a way to think of yourself as a multiplier. Even if you don't think of yourself as a front-facing person, I don't think that's important, but the DNA of who you are gets embedded in your organization. So, well, why don't we tear into it then? Again,
Well said, Mike. Well
stop me
said.
at any time for you know, just to qualify. But, you know, part of what I'm talking about is your biggest reinvention breakthrough. And the way I'd like to frame this is, you know, we live in a world right now that's been completely digitized, virtualized, and dematerialized. And as we said in the very beginning, Karen, this is about getting paid for who you are instead of what you do or know, or being in a commoditized space. And one question that I always ask people is, you know, what are you really selling and what business are you actually in? And I have a strong belief system that we sell feelings and emotions. And I can give you one really good example, a real life example, which I don't know if we met each other when I had this, but how did Elon Musk convince someone to buy a $130,000 car in 3.7 seconds? Good question, right?
Great question.
Well, here's an example of what that is. So I'm going to click and play, and there's a little backstory behind this. But years ago, I produced a documentary, and it was called Life with Tesla. So the whole idea behind this and what you're seeing on screen right now is me in my car. And the first time I ever got it, you know, at the time, Tesla sold their cars by making appointments and letting you take it for a ride. And I went out, I grabbed the car, I hit the road and I went up Ardith Road on the way into La Jolla, if you know that great curve. And I was going 120 miles an hour, which is as fast as that car would go, and tires didn't even bark. And so the answer to the question is, how do you convince someone to buy a $130,000 car in 3.7 seconds? Well, the answer is floor it. And that's exactly what the person who was selling the car told me to do, is just take that car out and floor it. And it went 0 to 60 in 3.7 seconds. And so, ultimately, the way I look at it, every product and service you ever sell, and the faster you figure out that you're actually selling an experience and an emotion and a feeling first, your objective is for people to show up at your door, at your store, and they're either saying this about you, your product, or your service, saying, I've been looking for someone just like you. How do we start working together? And when you're crafting a marketing message or a story, your objective is to share a transformational journey. So someone shows up knowing how they're going to feel when they're consuming, using your product, or being with you. And the sooner you get past thinking about selling a commodity and really take this to heart, the faster you're going to be able to elevate your value by 5 or 10 or 50 or 100 times. I don't care what it is. Okay. So how did Apple become a $2.5 trillion corporation? They're selling feelings. They have been for a long time. And, anyone can argue one way or another about the hardware. The same thing with Tesla. Tesla sells status. It sells a feeling. And so over time, one of the things that I've been doing with a lot of my clients who make a shift from selling just a product or just a service to also incorporating a way of selling more. Like, this is a doctor that I worked with who is in a commodity business. Now, again, not an online product or service, but I'm using this for a reason. She, I just told her to package yourself differently and sell an outcome and experience. Effectively, tell a story about the client in a movie starring them as the hero. And she had a $25,000 sale, and she had gone from $1,600 was her maximum package size. And she just shifted how she presented. And most of the time when I talk to business owners and say, what do you think you need in order to get to the next level, to grow? They think they've got a checklist of, I've got to position myself differently. I got to package myself differently. I need to market myself differently. And ultimately, the DNA of your organization has your DNA with your traumas embedded inside it. In other words, all of your own limitations. And crafting a different story has to do with thinking a little bit differently. So again, I'm going to give you a couple examples along the way. And again, hopefully this will really resonate with your audience. So I'm going to give you the opportunity to get out of the do mode and into a BBB mode. So typically, if you belong to masterminds, for example, they'll pre-frame you and they'll ask you a question like, what do you think what's holding you back from getting from where you are to where you want to be, to achieve more income? So 50K, $1 million a month, or whatever the number that looks to you, the 6-figure, 7-figure, 8-figure income, right? What do you need to achieve an extraordinary life and lifestyle and have maximum impact and results? Again, it's so easy to get into the trap of thinking about your business, your organization as selling a product, providing that function. And before I get into some of the secret special stuff here, I'm going to tell a brief story. And it's how I broke through into a different thinking that resulted in a different product and a different sale. And that was by selling a transformation. So here's the backstory. About 8 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3 of cancer. Almost died, had surgery, chemotherapy, radiation. And at one point, I ended up leaving San Diego, where I live, to go to Duke University Hospital to be treated. And we were 2,521 miles away from home. And I woke up every day in a pile of my own hair. I had about an hour of strength a day, and I would basically go in and get zapped. And then I had chemotherapy on top of that, which meant every single part of my body burned. It felt like you have an internal sunburn. And during that time, I decided to write a book in case first, if I died, I hadn't written a book yet. The second thing was, what the hell else am I going to do? I got no energy, no strength. I'm going to use what mental capacity I have. And I spent a lot of time in imagination land. Well, here's what wound up happening. Ended up writing a book in less than 30 days, leveraged at the time Amazon, which had its new KDP platform, and self-published. But the net as I walked away, I wrote, published, promoted a book, made it a bestseller in less than 30 days on less than an hour a day. And when I left the hospital, on my way home, before I even hit San Diego, I stopped by. I had an opportunity to speak on Tony Robbins' stage at Business Mastery to tell my story of transformation. And there, something clicked, because from stage, when I told my journey story, the crowd went crazy, and they gave me like a standing ovation for 10 minutes. It was super uncomfortable, but I was still on heroin or on morphine. I weighed like 135 pounds from my 195. You know, I had very little hair, but I realized that people bought the journey. They bought the transformation. And when I came home, the first question that my customers asked is, how did you manage to write that book? Can you show me how it works? That became a product called Publish and Profit, which became an almost $10 million franchise, doing events, creating a product, and we helped 1,800 business owners become best-selling authors. But they bought the transformation. They bought the feeling. They bought the emotion. And but it also meant that I wound up writing 13 books of my own, and in less than 5 years. I'm actually working on 2 right now. But most of them were tools to sell products. In other words, I gave away a book. I sold a $2,000 information product that elevated to a $5,000 event, to a $25,000 mastermind, traditional escalation model. So I'll wrap this up with one more little story, which is, that's my son, Zach, who's now 18. And, you know, he used to always just reach down, even when he got to be as tall as me, he reached down just instinctively to hold my hand. He was like my height at age 13, you know, he's just like still this little boy, this cute little boy. Well, he's 18 right now. And one of the biggest motivators I had, and that really changed my life when I moved from being a product-based business to selling a personality, super high ticket, so to have people walk up to me saying, can I pick your brain? Can I take you out for coffee? Can we meet for lunch? The typical, I want to pick your brain kind of a thing. This was one of the drivers, especially coming back from cancer, is a mentor of mine once said, when you have a kid, you get 18 summers. Now, as of now, I have 0 left. Zach is currently in the woods on a backpacking trip with no phone for 80 days, hiking, backpacking, canoeing, rafting with something called Knowles. But my summers are gone. And this was the moment that changed my life, though, is leading up to there. So I decided that from that moment forward, if someone's going to get my attention, I'm going to charge 7,000. Well, this is what I receive now, $7,000 an hour, 35K per day, $250,000 a year to work with someone, because I made a decision to deliver a different kind of value. And that's ultimately what I'm going to show you in my little process. So my value system is, if I don't help you earn 2 to 10 times more than your investment, I don't work with you. And I don't work with people who are cheap on their way to success. And also, I need to look at you in the eyes and make a promise that I'm going to give, that you're worth it, I'm worth it, and this is going to be the best investment you'll ever make. So, and if you don't pay, you don't pay attention. Again, why am I telling you all this? It's because I believe that your DNA is reflected in your organization, no matter what type of product or service you sell. And the sooner you start decommoditizing your own business, no matter what it is, or you, that's when people recognize you and see a huge amount of value. So I think the biggest secret here then is, nothing's worth selling your soul or family. That was one of the cancer stories that taught me, plus the having a kid. All those things factor into changing your life. And beyond doing, you want to move from a doing business. Most people go to and some people never get out of that. They're used to trading time for money. That's the way a commodity business works. To a knowing business where you trade money for your know-how, to a being business where you have a platform that has value in itself, and everything you touch is amplified and multiplied. And when you use that example earlier, Karen, of Dave Asprey, he's a classic example of that. And I think after in my life now, I had a big breakthrough about 3 years ago where I literally woke up and I made a decision, which was I had completely outgrown who I was, what I did, why I did it, who I did it for. I didn't want to be in the business of constantly being on social media, doing ads, building funnels, escalating people. I'm like, how the hell am I going to get out of this and live the life that I promised other people? Really, I felt incongruent, which was that of simplicity and elegance. And that's when I did what I'm about to show you. So I'm going to give you the formula, but ultimately I love simple, elegant businesses with the fewest moving parts, with the highest net and the least amount of potential breakage. And that's really what this story is all about, what it taught me. So I'm going to stop here for a second and just see if you have any questions before we.
I love the word elegant and simple, and I'm just appreciating you right now. So,
thank you.
I mean, really, the only thing that I would say is the way that this is all relevant to all of you is because one thing, I think it's very interesting, and how to transform yourself into a brand versus a person. But also, I really want to reiterate that, my clients, like I had a client who had headphones that you can sleep in. And what she did was, beyond selling her commodity, she created content. She partnered with the Sleep Foundation. She did all sorts of things that were beyond just what she needed to do in order to scale and grow her company. And so I think what you're saying essentially is, like, what turns you on? Why did you create that product to begin with? What was the reason behind it? Because most of you have a story. I know there's some of you just like, I want to make some quick cash, but a lot of you actually had an experience where maybe your kid was sick, or maybe somebody had a problem, and it shifted something within you and you wanted to do something bigger and better. And so I think what you're talking about is stop looking at it as just a thing, and let's look at the bigger thing to get you fired up and excited and waking up every day and really flourishing, and maybe something else will come out of it because you put the time, effort, and so forth. In case of the woman with the product, she was a doctor and she couldn't sleep and she needed something to work for her. And so she had a really good story and people really resonated with her story. And even during all the chaos of all the competition, she was able to really hold herself strong in that space. And so anyways, I'm really excited to continue this conversation, Mike.
Yeah. I'm trying to decide where I can pop this in, because when you're just describing that there's little transformational journeys, I'll go off on a slight tangent and show a couple examples of how this works. But here's the bottom line summary. We are wired to love the hero's journey, what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey. Don Miller recently has basically repackaged Joseph Campbell's hero's journey and calls it story selling. But it's basically about the hero, that'd either be you or the person you're targeting, how they have a goal, they try, they fail, they try, they fail, they meet a mentor, Yoda. It could be Yoda, it can be Jesus, it can be Moses, it can be whoever, right? Who shows them the way, and then along the way guides them. They have to defeat whatever the enemy is. The enemy is always an internal demon, and then they achieve success. And the more you can communicate a hero's journey inside of your product, I don't care what it is, so the target audience feels like they're the hero in the hero's journey with you as their Yoda, or Obi-Wan, that's how you create value. And I'm going to give you a real life example here. I'll just share my screen really quickly. These are real clients. Like this is one, her name's Misty Lone. She, the quick, oh, by the way, is when I work with people now, I write for Entrepreneur and Forbes magazine, and I work with people to build their hero's journey. And like this is dance studio mogul Misty Lone explains how to reinvent any face-to-face business. So I positioned her as the Sarah Blakely of the studio industry. She's developed a 3-step transformational system that can help any business owner in the studio industry create revenue opportunities. For her, she was in dance before, but the studio industry represents all sorts of different businesses like dance, gymnastics, yoga, karate, Pilates, spin studios, which accounts for $144 billion revenue. So here's another example. This is a guy named Justin Donald. I positioned him as the investment world's new Warren Buffett. And we just invented the 10 business commandments from lifestyle investor Justin Donald. So up until this point, lifestyle investor wasn't trademarked. We trademarked lifestyle investor and lifestyle investing, did this little article and invented a 10-step system. And then on his website, now he's Justin Donald's the investment world's new Warren Buffett. It's a story he can carry forever. And he takes you on a journey. His offer is $250,000 to work with him. And what he helps you, he coaches you to cash flow investing for passive income and financial freedom. Now, why is this relevant to our audience? It's because I don't care what you do right now. I don't care what you know. If you're positioned and packaged properly, there's someone who will pay you to guide them on the path to salvation, whatever salvation is, as their Yoda. And if you package yourself and what you do properly, just you being you can be worth $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 a year. I've got a client right now who's been an architect in India, who's always sold a $75,000 program. His new offer is $1 million.